It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our goal. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I am Tom Papa. Thank you for being here at the table once again. We have a great show for you today. We have Sara Singer-Schiff, who is my good friend and the co-host of my new podcast, Stars, Stripes, and Maple Leafs, where we take everything from the United States and put it in front of everything from Canada, and we go to war. Actually, no. Sarah's a great friend of mine, and whenever we get drunk and hang out, our Canadian and our American sides come out, and it just was always so funny at how distinct our perspectives were. And I think mine are probably more right than hers because I'm American and we're number one. But I give her the chance to defend herself and kind of shine a light on some of the things that maybe we're doing wrong. It's definitely a sibling rivalry. We love each other. Our countries love each other. But there are differences, and it's really fun to explore. So I decided, let's have Sara come on to this podcast and sit and break bread with us. And it's a really great interview. We have a really fun time, and we get to eat some really weird stuff. So Sara Singer-Schiff on the show. And then we're going to grab a quick bite with Ian Bagg. Ian is a great comedian, and he grew up north of Vancouver, basically where the earth turns to frost permanently. And I met him in New York. We've been great friends for a long time, and I figured we're doing a Canada thing. Let's get a quick bite with Ian Bagg. So we'll get to that a little bit later. I'd like to thank the good people at Greensmith Farms CBD. They are a great partner for our podcast. They sent me some CBD, and I'm telling you, for somebody who's been wrestling with how to sleep and unwind at the end of the day, this was really, I wasn't looking for it. They sent it, I tried it, and I am so excited that they're now sponsoring our program. Greensmith Farms makes all natural, full spectrum craft CBD tinctures and gummies. I went with the gummies. And right now you can get 20% off your order with the code PAPA, P-A-P-A, at checkout. Go to greensmithfarmshemp.com and enter the code PAPA at checkout for 20% off of your order. Good product. Happy they're around. Also, I'd like to thank our good friends at Wild Alaskan. Wild Alaskan Company. I love Wild Alaskan. My freezer is full with treats from Wild Alaskan. They sent me a whole big box of salmon and other wild-caught seafood, and it just sits in my freezer. And in between making any kind of like pasta or any other going out or ordering, I can just go and pull it out and know that I'm going to get this fresh seafood. I can't say enough good things about Wild Alaskan. You're used to having a lot of choices when it comes to what you eat, but it matters where your food comes from, and you can get your nutrition from nature. A great source of protein. The Wild Alaskan Company sources wild-caught seafood from Alaska and the Pacific Northwest, and right now you can get $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/papa, P-A-P-A. That's wildalaskancompany.com/papa, P-A-P-A, for $15 off your first box. Go and do it. Trust me. Try it out. You're going to love them. More about them later as well. All right. So, as I say to Sara Singer-Schiff, my good friend, there's very few times you will ever have a friend or a family member say to you, "Do you want to go out for Canadian tonight?" It doesn't happen. But there are some good culinary things that Canada has. Are they odd? Yes. Are they strange? Sure. Are they delicious? Fine. Yes, they are. They're really great stuff, and Sarah's great, and I'm really excited for you to get to meet her. She's very funny, and you'll see why we decided to do the Stars, Stripes, and Maple Leafs podcast together. So enjoy now my conversation with Sara Singer-Schiff. Well, Cynthia doesn't know yet, but I just got a call for we leave on the 13th to go to LBI.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just got a call on my way here for a gig on the 14th in Mexico for way too much money to say no to.
Oh, fuck. You're going to Mexico, so I guess
I have to.
Yeah, so you're not going to be able to join them.
I'm like, it's just past any consideration of saying no.
Right.
It's just like...
Right. Yeah. So how long?
Of course.
Yeah. How long are you going to be there for?
I'll fly in Saturday, do the show Saturday night, and meet them Sunday.
So that won't be too bad.
No, it's
but it'll just be disruptive for you. It's not as...
Yeah, and they got to go get the car. And
right. They've got to do all that stuff.
They have to... But they're all grown.
They're all
now.
Yeah, they can do that.
Yeah.
They're grown-ups.
All right, Aaron, we're starting. Well, this is very exciting. There'll be a big intro to this beforehand, which I'm sure I've set it up completely, but this is the Star Stripes and Maple Leafs edition of Breaking Bread. It's a podcast mashup crossover. And thank you for being here, Sara. This is so exciting.
Yeah.
This really went from us just being on the beach like, we should do a podcast about America and Canada. And now we're full bore.
Here we are. Not only talking about Canadian stuff and Canadian American stuff, but eating and drinking it too.
Well, this is why my podcast is a little better than our podcast, because mine comes with treats.
I can bring beer and treats to our podcast. That'll make it fun.
Well, this was exciting. I ran around town. First of all, I went to the internet and I said, give me Canada foods.
I did too. I did the same thing.
And the first thing that comes up is Canadian restaurants.
Yeah. And did you find any? Because there was like one liquor store.
There was a couple like in Glendale.
Oh.
It wasn't like a, Canadian restaurant.
Right.
It was a poutine place.
Right. That's what I found too.
Yeah.
A million poutine places.
Cheers. Labatt's Blue.
Labatt's.
Labatt's.
Oh my God. You almost insulted our beer.
That's pretty good.
See? How good is that?
It's so good.
How good is that? That's
beer is kind of the only thing I thought of as a child connected with
Canada.
Because
it's kind of sadly apt, appropriate.
Bob and Doug McKenzie were drinking beers and putting on their toques, and I was just like, that sounds like a wonderful place to be.
Aside from the cold,
it's
a great place to be. I know beer is something Canadians do really well, and I don't know why that is, but when you compare like piss Budweiser, sorry to any Budweiser fans out there, but like, come on.
It's funny that you say that, because when I was in the so I couldn't get to the place with poutine and those things, so I just went to the supermarket and I figured I'll just look for the Canadian things that I know there, and I'm looking and I had Molson on my mind, and they didn't have it, but they had Labatt's.
Like bat, like a.
and I passed the Budweiser, and I thought maybe I should bring Budweiser as like the American thing.
And do a taste test.
It's a Dutch company now.
Oh.
InBev or whoever the gigantic thing bought them, and it was like this controversial thing because that was such
an all-American beer. Yeah.
Still looks it, still has the flag and the whole thing, and it's not us.
It's not even American anymore. Ain't that the story of today's world? Nothing's what it seems.
Now, what about these guys? Do you think that they sold out, or they never?
No, I don't think they did. I feel like to be fair,
Canadian Pilsner.
I don't know. Here's the only problem with drinking this. I think I am going to have to burp.
It's all right. You can burp. We're allowed to burp.
All right. Yeah. I feel like I remember seeing Labatt's plants, breweries around the city, around Toronto or outside of Toronto. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it is owned by a Canadian company. So I don't know.
I'm sure it is.
I don't know.
I'm imagining it will. Well, yeah, maybe not. Somebody might have. Let's just say it is.
Let's just say it's Canadian.
It has the little leaf on it, your little maple leaf.
Right.
And that's the other thing I brought you, maple glazed donuts.
Oh, So when I saw it at first, I got excited and thought it was Tim Hortons, but Tim Hortons has all the, the printing all over it. And there's no way you could have brought Tim Hortons from a local place, but that's pretty great.
Kind of funny that Tim Hortons has not made any inroads into
It has.
the U.S. It has?
It has. I want to say in northern states, like somewhere around Michigan, I feel like you can get, you can buy prepackaged stuff, not the actual store, but you can buy like Timbits or Timbits are like donut holes, basically.
Right.
I mean, they're not like, they are donut holes.
Uh-huh.
I feel like you can get packaged stuff like that in certain grocery stores in the border between, the northern border, like between the U.S. and Canada.
Right.
Oh.
When you said you had to burp, I thought you were just going to burp like a normal person. I did.
Like, you mean keep it inside?
Was that a Canadian burp? That was huge.
Sorry.
And now you're really at home.
Maybe it's maybe it's because I haven't had Canadian beer for so long. My system's like, whoa, what's this stuff?
Yeah, it's celebrating. It's shooting off fireworks.
So far, just from one end. So that's good news. Okay, but I brought you a very Canadian treat because when you asked me if I was bringing anything, I of course also went online and started looking for stuff. Yeah. This is the noise of the tinfoil crinkling on top of the plate.
Ooh, what's that?
Nanaimo bars.
Nanaimo bars.
Nanaimo. So
Nanaimo.
I went and tried to find stuff, Canadian food, and it was all going to take 2 weeks to ship. So
these are dense.
Yeah, they're dense. They're like 5 pounds each.
Wow.
They're butter,
Holy
sugar,
cow.
and chocolate, basically. Just butter, sugar, and chocolate.
It's like a brownie with frosting on top.
Yeah, kind of.
And a lot of sugar thrown in.
And So you want to tell me we want me to tell you exactly what it is? Mm-hmm. Okay. So first of all, they come from Nanaimo, British Columbia, which is a city, town in British Columbia.
Right.
And I don't know who came up with them, Mr. and Mrs. Nanaimo.
Oh, the Nanaimo family.
The Nanaimo family from Nanaimo. I don't know who came up with them, but they are quintessentially Canadian, like literally as Canadian as poutine. I know, right? How good is that?
So good.
Right?
You made these yourself?
Yeah.
Nice
and
work.
so the one thing that you need that is hard to get, and I happen to have as a staple in my pantry, is custard powder. And I think that's a British thing. Oh. And I guess if you were to use it in the traditional way, you would make custard with it. I don't think it adds any flavor. I think all it does is make the yellow filling, that's butter and powdered sugar, just bright yellow. It makes it brighter.
Oh, really? It just brings the color out?
I don't know. Maybe it gives it a thickness, maybe. Yeah. Like
it's really good. Coconut.
So it's got coconut. Okay, so the base is graham cracker crumbs and chocolate, like cocoa powder, a little bit of sugar, butter, and that's pretty much, and coconut shreds, yeah.
Wow, that's good.
And so you press that into the pan, and then you refrigerate it, and then each layer you just refrigerate each at a time, one at a time. Uh-huh. The next layer is the butter and sugar and custard powder, icing sugar, and you blend that together, and a little bit of milk, or half and half, or cream. And then the last layer is chocolate, melted chocolate.
And you refrigerate each individually?
Well, I like to just because it firms it up, and then you layer them all one on top of the other. And this didn't harden enough. The top chocolate layer got a little.
Oh, I see.
I think it didn't harden long enough, and it melted on the way over. So it's a
right.
Then
you have to take a Canadian dish and drive it through 120-degree Burbank summer. But for how dense it is, it's not like overpowering sweetness.
It's funny you say that because I was worried. Every time I read that recipe and I make it, I'm like, 2 cups of icing sugar. That is a lot of icing sugar.
That is a lot, yeah.
And the butter too. It's like just chunks of butter, but somehow it works, doesn't it?
It totally works.
I know.
I love the Nanaimos.
It's magic. So this is a recipe that I might have to give your wife, even though I know she's cutting out sugar. She's trying to cut out sugar.
Is she again? Yeah, I know. It's not going to happen. It's a lifelong battle.
Well, she's done better with the sugar than I have with the alcohol. I'll tell you that much.
She told me that. She told me that you were going to stop drinking for a bit, and then you got through an afternoon.
And now I can't even say I'm getting through an afternoon because I'm drinking beer. And
that's how I always know when I'm drinking more than normal. Mm-hmm. When I'll replay in my head what I did that night or that day, and I'm like, wow, I didn't have anything, not counting beer or wine. I'm like, wow, I didn't drink. Oh, well, wait.
Well,
I had,
aside from the beer and wine.
except for the beer at lunch.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
That doesn't count.
But do you think Canadians drink more than Americans?
That's a good question. I think Canadians possibly drink more beer than Americans. I think maybe the go-to is beer more often.
Right.
But I wouldn't say so.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if there are any studies about that. That's
We're all drinkers.
I think
Both cultures are.
I think we're all drinkers. And yeah, I mean, in some places, the colder it is, I think probably the more you drink.
Right. And I have friends in Montreal. That's where I know most of my Canadians. And the people that I do know from that area are really into wine.
Yeah,
maybe the French influence, yeah.
The French influence, that may be. And there are tons of great wine places. Well, what am I saying? There are not at all tons of great wine places.
What do you mean, wineries? No.
Well, no, because it's completely different in Canada. So there are no private or independent wine cellars. It's all through the government. So there's something called the Liquor License Board of Ontario in Ontario, the province of Ontario. So it's all provincial. Each province has its own government regulated and distribution outlets for liquor. So you can't go. There's one place that sells wine. I forget, one little private company, and I don't know why they're the only ones allowed to do it. But almost every other liquor is through, and wine is through the LCBO. And then there's the beer store, the beer, same equivalent for beer.
And why is that? So just so the government can make more money off of it, or they can control it more? Why would they do that?
Probably both.
Right.
Probably both, because I mean, the other part of this is that Canada is so much more regulated than the US, which comes back to what we've talked about before in our podcast about how in Canada it's just kind of expected that the government's going to be involved in controlling things and regulating things, and there isn't this resistance to it in the same way. There isn't
because you guys hate freedom.
No, actually. It's because we don't fear the government. We're not fear mongering, and
right. You're not afraid your government's going to turn on you.
We're not afraid our government's going to. Certainly, no more so than corporations. Why would corporations have our best interest at heart? You think Facebook and Amazon actually give a shit about us?
Don't they? They helped me see all my old girlfriends from high school.
Jeff Bezos the other day when he thanked us, I felt like he was thanking me personally when he thanked me for helping him go into space. So
yeah,
you're right.
It was kind of nice. Like at first I was like, well, that's a weird penis copter that he's going up into space with. But then to know that I had helped pay for it, it made me feel.
It made you feel warm and cozy, right?
And then somebody,
I'm so glad.
I talked about it on my radio show, and then somebody called us and said, why are you surprised that his rocket ship was in the shape of a penis? Do you see the Amazon logo? The Amazon logo
is
a penis.
I never even noticed that.
It's a smile. This is what they say. But
it's a penis-shaped smile.
But look, you see that little emoji? See the Amazon one?
Oh my God!
Right?
Oh my God! It's a curved penis.
It's a curved penis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. He's got penis issues.
I was like, how did we not know that?
How did we not know
We're
that?
thinking smile, and this guy's like, guys, why are you surprised about the penis copter? Take a look at their logo. It is a penis.
It's a penis. It's a penis all the way.
That is amazing.
Oh, man.
A little treat that you find out.
Yeah, seriously. Although, I mean, you could probably find penises in anything, really, if you want.
Well, I'm excited. It's been fun recording the episodes so far. We've recorded a couple of them.
Yes.
And it is really fun. It's funny. And I announced it on my radio show. And I'm going to be interested to see the response of it next week, because I have this running thing of I've gotten in trouble a couple times with Canada on my radio show.
How so?
Sirius XM goes up there, and I may or may not have made some comments.
You mean about Canadians hating their freedom type
about
thing?
The Newfies,
Yeah.
and I
how'd you even hear about the Newfies in the first place? Like, where did you even get that information from?
well, here's the secret: is I love Canada.
I know.
I love Canada, and I love going up and visiting, and and to be fair, to call me out for attacking the Newfies is like, come on. The whole continent, the whole country mocks the Newfies.
Yeah.
They're like, they're like the New Jersey of Canada.
Except the difference is, honestly, I remember when we talked about this one of the first times, I don't think I've ever met a Newfie.
Because they never leave, right?
Maybe because they never leave. They probably know something we don't, They're like, we've got the best setup here of anyone.
Yeah.
No, it's a really small province, and it's a very big country, and I don't know how many people move around, from Newfoundland to the other parts of the country, but that may just also be because I haven't lived there for a long time. But they're not as ubiquitous as New Jerseyites, I would say.
Right,
the rest of the
you're being
country.
from New Jersey all over the country.
Yes,
the Newfies
exactly.
just stay there. But I feel like it's probably, and obviously you don't want to talk about it. I have a feeling like a lot. The rest of Canada doesn't let them leave.
That's the Quebecers. Actually, the Quebecers, I think the rest of Canada wants to kick out. So, no, I don't even know.
What is it with the Quebecers? The Quebecers want to just be France?
The Quebecers want their own independence, and
they want to speak French and be left alone.
they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Is that their
it's
thing?
a touchy subject. It's
because that's the capital, right?
no.
What's your capital?
Capital is Ottawa, which is where
Ottawa.
I was born.
I thought you were born in Toronto.
No, I lived in Toronto, but I was born in Ottawa, which is, by the way, like how as far is it? 2.5 hours from Toronto. But it is the nation's capital.
Oh, that's the capital.
And that's the capital. And Montreal is also about 2.5 hours from Ottawa, I want to say. Maybe a little closer. No, it's actually closer to an hour. It's probably like 3 hours from Toronto and about an hour and a half from Montreal. But Montreal, so Quebec, yeah, it's mixed because it is a really unique place. It's a beautiful city. It feels much more European.
It does.
And in some ways much more sophisticated than the rest of Canada.
Right. More than Montreal?
Well, I mean, when I talk about Quebec, I'm not talking about Quebec City. I'm talking about the whole province.
The whole province.
Although technically I really should be talking about Montreal because it's the city center. It's the big metropolitan area.
'Cause I always thought it was Quebec City that wanted out.
There's Quebec, the province, and then there's also Quebec City within the province of Quebec. So no, it's the whole province.
So the whole province that wants out.
Yeah.
So Montreal
would be not part of Canada.
Toronto
would be part of Canada because that's Ontario.
Because that's Ontario.
That's Ontario.
So the line is right there. It's really the eastern part.
Yep.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I was really ignorant to that.
Well, most people don't know about it. They just know about Quebec as like the cool place because everyone speaks French and it is a great place. But this whole history of separation is just exhausting. I think.
Is it kind of like us with Texas?
No, because I think everybody in the U.S. wants to get rid of Texas. At least I don't mind if they leave.
It's almost like they're just like, all right already. If it's that important to you,
right?
Whatever.
Just go. Do it. Yeah, but the problem is, I mean, Texas is at least the south of the country, the southern part of the U.S., so it wouldn't really break up the country totally. You could kind of go around it, whereas Canada, you can't go. I mean, Quebec, you can't go around.
No.
You can't really go around.
And is this kind of like when people talk about, taking like Arcadia in the West, people want to go from Vancouver down to like Mexico and create that country, including California and Washington, all that. It's all. Right. It's kind of just a thought exercise. Like
no, because there was a very strong separatist movement at one point, very strong, and they even had like their own homegrown terrorists blowing up things and people being kidnapped, and there was a lot of political unrest in the 60s, early 70s. I should know this. But anyway, so. And they were given a lot of liberties or freedoms, I should say, things that they wanted. They wanted more independence, and they've been given that. They wanted, I think they get extra money for this and that. And I think the rest of Canada is kind of like, come on, enough. Like, just get over it.
Right, enough already.
Really? Is it really that important to you? And why does it matter that much?
Why does it matter that much?
I don't know.
What do they
know.
Is it?
I might be making a lot of enemies in saying this, but I don't know.
Is it a French culture thing? Is it like that? It's just purely we're better.
But you also, I mean, you have a substantial English population in Quebec. So especially Montreal, mostly Montreal, not so much outside of Quebec. I mean, outside of Montreal.
Oh, really?
The more rural areas are very French, and that's like there are places in Quebec where you can go and nobody speaks English.
Oh, interesting. Because
Yeah.
I toured the whole country and went from the east all the way to the west, and I don't remember running into that. I guess because probably in the east, we were probably going from the big city to big city. It got a little more rural when we got out west.
Right.
London was like the big city, which is not that big.
London, Ontario?
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
And
But
then
that's
smaller.
in Ontario, though. That's still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like as I was heading west.
Right.
Then it started to get more rural, but then there was no French there. It was still all English.
Right. Yeah, no, there isn't. I want to say there's like one other pocket. There are a couple pockets of French in Manitoba, the province of Manitoba. But mostly Quebec is really the only French place and French-speaking place.
So if I walked into a rural place in Quebec province and I was like trying to be friends with them and I was held up my Labatt's, would they be like, Patooey, because that's more Canadian, and they would hold up their Burgundy or their Bordeaux and say something mean to me in French?
I don't think so. I think they would be open to raising a glass with you, regardless of the spirit of the alcohol. I haven't had that experience. I really haven't spent much time in rural Quebec, so I can't say. I do know that whenever I try, even though I'm an English Canadian, and I happen to speak French because my parents sent me to a French school, so I'm lucky enough to actually be fluent in French.
Right.
And
that is lucky.
every time, c'est très fortunate. Oh my God, now I'm losing my French.
Buenos Aires.
J'ai beaucoup de fortune. Anytime I try to speak French when I'm in Montreal, they come back at me with English because they can tell from my accent that I'm an English-speaking person.
They won't even give you
They won't even give
the
me
E for effort?
No.
Really?
They won't. They're kind of like, all right, whatever. I mean, I don't know if there's a condescension in it, but I'm there may be some appreciation, but there's definitely, you got to work that French-Canadian accent to try and make yourself sound like a local, and that's not so easy.
Man, visiting there and going there all the time in Quebec and Montreal specifically, it does feel that is the greatest appeal for me is that I do feel like I'm in
a
like a
country.
European country. It feels different, and I like that they're mean to me. And the women are beautiful.
The women are beautiful.
Beautiful.
I know.
And the clothing and
it's so much more sophisticated.
I would shop every time I went up there. I would buy a jacket or at least from this small shop because their clothes were better. And I even like during the off season would be like, oh, I should try and get that jacket, and I couldn't get it here.
Oh,
yeah,
funny.
I know. Like
that is interesting. I wonder if that's still the case because I feel like everything is American now. Everything is everywhere in American and all the Canadian stores. But maybe there are local ones. Like for example, there's a store that was very Canadian called Le Chateau.
Yes.
And
it's like a big department store.
It used to be
Kind of.
sort of like, it was a bit like a Top Shop or like a H&M or it was like one of those types of stores.
But it has fancy writing, so the Americans think it's fancy.
And it's in French,
Right.
so they think it's fancy. But I saw Le Chateau here. I don't remember if it was in LA, but it's somewhere in the US. I remember seeing it. And then I think that may have been bought. Also Club Monaco, that was originally Canadian. Now it's American, bought by Ralph Lauren or something.
Right,
So all these things that were, and then at the same time, you've got like Pottery Barn and Crate and Barrel and Target. And Target no more. Target actually was a little too arrogant and ambitious and went up to Canada, opened way too many stores, and they had to shut them all down pre-COVID. So no Targets there, but everything else feels the same everywhere.
It's I know, but you know what? As much as it is, it isn't. You still feel like out of your element.
Right.
My wife always gets angry about that there's Pottery Barns everywhere and it's all the shops are the same but you hang for a little bit and
you're right.
You still feel like you're an outsider for sure.
You do, and you go to a grocery store. And you actually find different foods, right?
Isn't that funny?
Since we're talking about food.
Isn't it funny? Like as we're talking that you don't want to be a tourist, especially when you're young, you don't want to be a tourist. But as you get older, you're like, you want to feel like you don't belong.
Right.
Like that makes it exciting.
Totally.
You don't want it to be accepted and belong. You want to be kind of on the outside.
You want to feel like there's something new and different that you don't know.
Yeah, and it takes the pressure off. You're like, I can bumble around and I don't have to be as responsible here.
That's right. It doesn't count. It's kind of like your wine and beer, but in place of any hard liquor, that it doesn't count somehow.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It doesn't count if you are eating, too much sugar or whatever you indulge.
So when I was on the internet looking up Canadian restaurants, which there are none except for the poutine places,
right.
and then they said the maple glazed donut,
right,
brought to you by Canada,
right,
and you can take these home to your family.
Oh.
And here's a curveball, and I'm going to guess that you don't know it. I'm going to give you a Canadian food fact that I'm guessing you wouldn't know.
I'm curious. I'm very curious.
And maybe it's wrong. But it seemed like a legit site.
Where did you get it?
It was like a Canadian food site.
Right.
Heralding all the great Canadian things.
Right.
Maple syrup and poutine and
right.
a couple other things I didn't know. Hawaiian pizza.
Is Canadian?
Is Canadian.
Yes! Actually, I'm not sure why I'm saying that. I don't even like it.
I've never even had it, actually.
And it's Hawaii. Oh, it's pretty gross, actually.
But because it was...
My kids love it, though.
Because it was pineapple and... They said in the thing, ham.
Or was it Canadian
ham?
bacon?
Canadian bacon.
Right.
That was the original.
Isn't that funny?
Isn't that funny?
That's up there with all the celebrities you didn't know were Canadian. Right. It's like,
right.
Gosh, all these things.
Yeah, a little surprise. Hawaiian pizza. And I was actually thinking if I had more time, that would have been funny to show up with the Hawaiian pizza, and then it would have ruined our day.
Yeah, I know. We would have fallen asleep by 3:00 in the afternoon.
All right, so now I'm going to pour you something that is uniquely Canadian.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I'm getting wine too?
Let's have your glass.
Okay.
Because
well, since we're having wine, I'll have a donut.
Because this is
not that they go together at all, but
because this is something that you only get in Canada.
Clamato juice. Oh, I was getting wine.
I was going to give you wine, but no, that's Italian. This is one of those strangest things that I learned. Why? You guys like this as chips? You guys like this? You actually have potato chips. Clamato
All that
potato
beer
chips.
Just gone to your head.
Yeah, can't see around my mic.
That's pretty nasty looking. I don't think I've ever had this without alcohol.
Yeah, you have to put booze in this.
Yeah, there's no real reason to drink this without booze. And
no.
Okay.
Smells
cheers.
like V8.
Yeah, it smells like V8. Mm-hmm. Oh, it just tastes like tomato juice.
Tastes like a little like the inside of a clam shell.
Which you've licked before? You actually know what that tastes like?
Yeah, like when you're down at the beach or you get a clams on the half shell.
You taste clam in this? Because I don't.
I taste salt.
Yeah, I taste salt too. Maybe it's just because I had the maple donut, which somehow goes quite well.
Let me see if there are even clams in it. So you grew up on this stuff, though?
Not really,
No?
because it was drinks that my parents would make. Bloody
Marys, yeah.
I guess, with Clamato juice.
Okay, so
It was
dried clam broth,
Oh,
vinegar,
dried clam broth.
dried clam broth.
Wow.
It's really sugar. It's tomato, high
Yeah.
fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
And you want to know something crazy? I mean, not crazy,
What?
but this is kind of like the global thing that we're talking about.
Oh boy.
Produced
in China.
under the authority
Oh.
of Mott's in Plano, Texas.
That makes me want to drink more beer.
Yeah, this is pretty gross.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it just tastes like tomato juice, but I don't know why
Yeah.
you would use this instead of tomato juice.
Yes, it is. There is the clam broth. There is a little
You think
something
it's just
to
the
it.
Saltiness.
It's salty, but it's also fishy.
I don't taste it. It's funny. I really don't taste it, but I guess my palate is not particularly refined when it comes to. Well, I'm
Yeah,
not
that's
sure
a real.
there's anything
That's a real honor that I can.
that you can taste the fishiness, the clam, and the.
I'm sure it has
Clamato.
nothing to do with clam being in the in the title. Clamato, Clamato.
You see, this is just one of those things that I think you grow up with. You don't even realize the rest of the world doesn't have.
Yeah.
There's so many things I didn't realize were not part of the rest of the world until I left.
Like what?
Like, okay, I knew you were going to ask me this. Well, just things like Nanaimo bars and poutine, or like ketchup chips, or like we've talked about that, or I mean the beer thing was a big surprise to me. Not finding that American beer was nowhere near as good. At least it didn't used to be. I mean, now I think it's pretty fair to say there's some great American beers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the funny thing about beer, just getting back to that quickly.
Yeah.
There are actually, even though Labatt's and Molson's are the big main brands and they're very Canadian, there's so many breweries now. Oh, it's a good one. Oh, you were saving that one up.
That really was much better than I expected.
Do you think that's a different carbonation? Or
yes, it is, because I don't burp like that normally.
You don't burp like that? I wish I could say I don't.
I felt like a kid.
I actually do. So I can't say it's unique to this beer, but I'll take it.
So you were saying that microbrews up there?
A lot of microbrew. That's a hard word.
Brewery?
Microbreweries.
It's the Clamato.
The Clamato's getting to me. The virgin Clamato is getting to me. Microbreweries that produce some incredible beer.
Well, that's happening all over North America.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, I remember my brother-in-law getting into it way before it became popular.
He would make his own beer?
Yeah, he would make his own beer, and then he just he loved finding like these little small places, and it was pretty rare.
Right.
And now
they're everywhere.
Every
That's
state
true.
is just turning out amazing stuff.
That's true. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else is Canadian that I realized was uniquely Canadian. Anyway, Clamato is just one of those things that I think I never even realized or thought twice about. My parents would probably make Bloody Marys for themselves, and I didn't realize that nobody else drank Clamato juice.
Right. What's funny about that? The last Bloody Mary I had was your husband made me one.
Oh, funny.
And it was definitely an American version of it.
I'm sure it was.
Because I don't know if you remember, but it had a giant slab of bacon hanging out of it.
Of course.
It had 17 olives. It was like the American complete explosion.
Over the top. Yeah, everything excessive.
And your parents are making it with Clamato and maybe a dash of salt. And
a little
some pepper.
sprig of parsley. That's
right, a little celery stick.
Yeah. I don't know if my parents would drink Clamato juice, but yes, Hans, my husband, does tend to do things over the top. That would be his gourmet version, I guess, but also very American.
Yeah. So when you came, when I would buzz up for the first time of learning about Canada and buzz up to Montreal and be like, oh, I didn't know they had poutine. I didn't know what that was. Or was there any surprise going to the States the same way, that you would come down there and be like, whoa, I didn't know this thing existed? Or was it America's just so great that you knew all about it already? Sorry, my eyes itchy.
No, I get it. No, I can't say there were any surprises. Not that I remember. I mean, I remember noting small differences. The McDonald's here was slightly different than the McDonald's in, back home. And so certain things that were the same but slightly different. It's kind of like what we were talking about before, where, the slight differences in grocery stores and stuff, and you walk in and slightly different vibe, different products. I remember being asked by Americans. I knew Americans could be dumb, but I remember them asking. I was surprised by how dumb some of them were. Remember, I'm married to one, and I have American citizenship, and I got 3 American kids.
You don't have to make excuses. You said it.
Okay, I said it.
And I didn't fight it.
So they asked, because when they found out that we were Canadian, they asked if we all rode sleds. They asked if we lived in igloos. No joke.
Sincerely.
Yeah.
If you lived in igloos?
If we lived in igloos, if we all rode sleds. And they asked if we had because of the sled thing, they assumed we didn't have cars. They're like, wait, you have cars? They couldn't believe that. And then when they found out we had McDonald's, I don't know why McDonald's keeps coming up. I don't know. It wasn't a big thing in my life, but that was one that came up several times. Yeah, like, oh my God, you have McDonald's? Like, that's the barometer of culture somehow for Americans.
It's kind of nice and it's kind of upsetting at the same time. Not because they're dumb, but because you ruined this ideal of what was going on up there.
I know, this great. I kind of wish I had kept it going. Like, yeah, we all live with Nanook of the North, and we all ride sleds.
And the Mounties. That was a big thing.
And the Mounties, that's right.
Did I ever tell you my first role in a play was playing a Mountie?
What play?
I was in fifth grade.
Oh.
I was in 5th grade, and I got to play a Mountie. I forget the name of the play. I know it, but I'm just spacing on it.
Is it a well-known play?
Something Do Better or I think Colonel Do Better was my name. Colonel Do Better. And I was the Mountie. My friend played the dog. And I had
the better role.
I had big wooden snowshoes, and I had the uniform. I had like the
full-on.
I had my mom's kind of like, not velvet, but a different like kind of material snow pants. They were big in the hips, so I could pull them out and make them look like Mountie pants.
Right.
And boots. And then I had the wooden snowshoes. I'm like, in a cafeteria.
Right.
And the hat and
Where'd you get
this
the hat?
kind of jacket. I don't remember where I got the hat. Someone must have given it to me.
Yeah.
Didn't come from my family.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got to play this Canadian Mountie.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a good
Colonel
costume.
Do Better, but I think they're still talking about that role back in New Jersey.
I remember reading a review of that somewhere now that you mention it.
Yeah. I actually looked it up online one time because I remembered what the play was, and I looked it up, and I actually found the play.
Found it.
Yeah, it was like a one-act kind of thing.
Wait, you mean like you found the script for it, or you found a recording of
the script? The script. Yeah.
Okay. Funny.
Wow. Back then I was very against people recording me.
Because
I was like, I didn't want it to just spread without me getting paid for it. So I made sure everybody. Cell phones weren't invented yet, but there was one guy with a VCR. We had to kick him out. And I came out there as Colonel Do Better, and then somebody played a bad guy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but that was my image as a child. I wasn't so out of it that I thought you were in igloos on sleds everywhere.
Well, you were a little closer to Canada. Maybe you'd even met some.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I mean,
I still feel like I've never been to Belgium, but I do still kind of feel like they live in chocolate homes.
You mean they don't?
I don't know. It's unconfirmed. I've never been.
Must.
We stick to North America on this show. That maple glazed donut, by the way, no joke.
Damn good. Can you give a shout out to whoever made these?
Yeah, this was the Donut Hut. On Magnolia in Burbank.
I'm gonna have some
and holy cow. You just pull up, and it's like a 1950s open window kind of place. God. And just lean up, and he's got all these donuts. I was like, do you have maple glaze? He looked at me like, what?
No.
Of course.
Like, who doesn't have maple glaze?
And then I was going to get a bear claw, because I felt like that would have been Canadian. But I wasn't sure, so I didn't do it. But it sounds like it would be Canadian.
It should be.
Right? Bear claw?
It should be what all Mounties eat.
Or on their sleds. The Donut Hut, and it's spelled D-O-U-H, dough-N.
D-O-U-H, not
like
D-O-U-G-H?
Not D-O-U, what'd I say? D-O-U, D-O-U-G-H. Dough, like dough.
Right.
N, with an N on it. That's one word.
Doan.
Dash T.
Oh.
Hut.
That's weird.
Don T Hut.
Hut.
Yeah. California does do donuts. I mean,
they do. Where's Krispy
when I was
Kreme?
literally on my way here, I was thinking, okay, so I've got the beer, I've got the Clamato, I've got to get a maple glazed donut. Mm-hmm. I didn't even have to look it up on the GPS. I'm like, I'm going to pass. In 5 miles, I'm going to pass 200 donut places.
Oh, right.
And that place is just that was just luck. That place is gorgeous.
These are good.
Right?
They may spell their name strangely, but they make
Dip it in
donuts.
the Clamato, then you're really back to your childhood.
Yeah, no, I think it is very sweet though. Oh, sorry.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This is so much fun. Our podcast is Stars, Stripes, and Maple Leafs. And we're just going to keep going until we're going to just keep exploring it until we run out of gas or run out of Canadians that want to come on. But so far, it really is interesting.
There's a lot to learn.
Yeah,
I'm learning a lot.
I know,
I'm
me
learning
too.
a lot about my country.
Yeah.
Things that I should have known. Things that I wouldn't have known and couldn't have known, but that I'm discovering.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And the bottom line is we love each other.
we do.
But we just have an opinion of which one is better, and we won't spell out which one.
We won't
That's
argue
not
about that right now.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Because I
that's-
might have to take away your Nanaimo bars, and then what would you do?
That's for another time. We won't have to discuss that. Well, thank you, Sarah. I'll see you at
Cheers.
the next podcast.
Cheers, Tom.
Cheers with all our drinks.
Chills.
We all know we should be eating more fish to get our omega-3s and protein, but the seafood counter can be intimidating. Which fish tastes the best? What type of cut? What's going to have bones in it? What's going to be weird? What's the guy behind the counter going to say when I pronounce the name wrong? Wild Alaskan Company takes the guesswork out of buying wild-caught seafood. You love to order seafood when you go out. It's a good thing to have. It's healthy. It's always much better than you think it's going to be. When you get Wild Alaskan Company, it comes right to your doorstep. High quality, sustainably sourced, wild-caught seafood. Choose from salmon, whitefish, or a combination, and every month there are different specials to explore. Each shipment contains premium, wild-caught, individually wrapped portions of delicious seafood. It really is great. They come individually wrapped, and you just pull it out of your freezer. You take a couple out if you're in love or if you're hungry, and you just open it up. I put it in a little baking pan, a little olive oil, a little lemon on top, maybe a little dill, maybe a little butter, whichever way you want to go, and in 20 minutes. And you can do it frozen too. You don't have to defrost it. It's fish. It's not like a big thing of steak. Trust me. Get some today. You can adjust, pause, or cancel your membership anytime, and they offer 100% satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Right now, you can get $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/papa, P-A-P-A. That's wildalaskancompany.com/papa for $15 off your first box. wildalaskan.com/papa. Make sure to use the URL to tell them that we know that they know that we sent you. And that really is important. They need to know that our good friends here at Breaking Bread are the ones buying their fish. So make sure you put Papa in there and let the good people know that Tommy didn't steer you wrong. We'd also like to thank our good friends at Greensmith Farms CBD. These guys are great. I mean, I've been, we live here in LA. We get a lot of these products coming around, and Greensmith Farms makes all natural craft hemp CBD products, including CBD oil and gummies. If you just want to take the edge off and you just want to feel good about yourself, you maybe want to sleep better, these are all things that I've got from it. Do it. I went with the gummies. You get the tincture also. Every Greensmith Farms package tells you exactly how much CBD and other cannabinoids you are getting and how much in each serving. So you kind of like figure it out for yourself, and then you get the right combination. And I took it at around, I like to go to bed around 11. So around 8, I ate a couple and ate one, and then just kind of cruised in, then ate another one when I wanted to, a little half to kind of boost it up a little bit. Just so naturally relaxed without any high. It was great. All Greensmith Farms CBD products are made from hemp grown on their family farm in West Virginia. Free of pesticides and other chemicals, it just feels like a good product. The company was founded by veterans to provide the world's best CBD products at an incredible price. All natural, full spectrum. They're just better. So for listeners, you can get 20% off your order with the code PAPA at checkout. Go to greensmithfarmshemp.com and enter the word PAPA at checkout for 20% off your order. greensmithfarmshemp.com/Papa for 20% off at checkout. You will enjoy it. It'll make your life better. What have you got to lose? All right, now it's time for a quick bite with our good friend Ian Bagg. He's a hilarious comedian. Make sure you look him up on all his social media. You got to see him live. He's one of those comedians. He's so funny off the cuff. I've never seen him do the same set twice, and I know you hear that about comedians once in a while, and some of it's true. It's really true with Ian. Naturally funny, rapid fire, great mind, as you'll see when we grab this quick bite with Ian Bagg.
Ian.
How
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
I miss you, buddy.
I miss you, bud. It's been too long since we've hung out. You know.
I know.
Isn't that the way about comedy though? As you get a little bit more successful, you lose kind of touch with friends.
Yes, you completely do. It's very strange because it's the blessing and the curse of being friends with comedians is that, you know, the most fun thing that you can have, but you end up headlining and you end up always on every night of the year in a different city than your friends.
It's because you both strive for the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't be together because you're striving for the same thing. You got to go opposite ways. So.
Right. Well, we'll fix that.
Enough crying.
We'll fix that for sure. Ian, I'm actually in Dallas. I just went through customs coming in from Mexico, and as I was doing it, looking forward to calling you, I was like, this is why Ian probably stayed in the States, because going back and forth across the border is just too much of a hassle.
It's too tough. I remember going through to Canada, and they just said to me, "Why are you here?" Even though I have a Canadian passport, they said, "Why are you here?" And then I came back the other way with a friend going to the American side, and they said, "Welcome home." And I was like, "Well, this is confusing." Did we lose each other?
Yeah, so I was thinking to myself, this is why Ian probably stayed in the States, just because he didn't want to go through customs anymore.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You don't. They scare you no matter what. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how nice of a person you are. They scare you.
I know, it's very stressful. Ian, tell our listeners where you grew up.
I grew up in Terrace, British Columbia, which is what you do is you go to Vancouver, right, and then you drive 12 hours to Prince George, then you take a left, and then you drive another nine hours to Prince Rupert, and then you come back an hour, and that's Terrace.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That sounds cold.
It's a rainforest, but it's a cold rainforest. So the bottom of your feet are always wet. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So did you have an attachment to the rest of Canada when you lived up there? Did you feel like you were even a part of the same country?
Yes, I felt like we were the people. We were doing God's work by getting. No, I didn't. No, I had an attachment because I just wanted to go to all the other cities. I wanted to go to Vancouver. I remember hearing about people going to Vancouver, and I was just like, "Oh, it sounds fantastic." Have I ever told you the story? I've ever told the story about how people used to, when I was a kid, people would go to Vancouver. They'd fly to Vancouver, which is an hour and 20 minutes, and they would pay people. They would pay people to bring Big Macs back for them.
No,
because there wasn't a McDonald's anywhere near there. Like it was I think 12 hours was the closest McDonald's, so they'd pay people to bring Big Macs for them.
Oh, that's hilarious. So what were you guys eating up there in the middle of the woods? It was always just a no-name restaurant. You know, the biggest chain restaurants we had was A&W and Dairy Queen, and it's nothing like Canadians eating ice cream in the middle of winter. That sounds pretty fancy. I wouldn't think Dairy Queen would even find their way up there.
Yeah, my friend's mom and dad owned it. It was pretty brilliant.
And then when your family was eating, were you like hunting wild animals?
Well, you know, we used to. My dad and his friend used to go hunting every so often. When I was about 14, he stopped going. I remember he took me out once. He took me out once hunting, and I never got anything. But I remember I used to butcher the moose in our garage, which was weird. There'd just be a moose at the beginning. At the beginning, it would be just a full moose, and then there would just be a head. And I just remember staring at this head.
Oh my God!
I don't want to eat it. I feel bad.
That's a big animal. That must have filled up the whole garage.
Yeah, they would hang it from a motor block chain. So the chains that would take a motor out of a car, that's what they'd hang it from in the middle of the garage.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God.
And then you guys say why I'm like I am, and then you hear these stories, you're like, nah, that's why it's a little odd.
So when you start stand up and
Yeah.
and find your way through Montreal and then ultimately to New York, you must have just been like, I always knew that you grew up in kind of a remote place, but I've never really appreciated how mind-blowing the experience must have been going from that to that.
It was insane. So I ended up in Australia when I first graduated high school. I ended up over there for about about a year. I ended up in Australia in Sydney. So I had gotten a taste of the city. But then I went back and I was working in a gold mine. And then when I finished that, I ended up in Vancouver, and then I ended up in New York. And New York was it was mind blowing. It was just stupid. You know?
Right.
You know, like it was everything I heard about it. Like you're just walking around, you're like, huh?
Yeah.
I wonder how I ended up here. This doesn't make sense at all.
It doesn't. And you have all that food everywhere.
Oh, I remember so when I first moved there, I went to I stayed at a youth hostel, and just down the street. So I go do a set at the comic strip, and they give me $20. My youth hostel was $16, and then I think it was like $1 on the subway up and $1 on the way back, and then I had $2 to spend, and I spent it at a donut shop because they had these flavors of donuts that I'd never heard of, like almost like. I was just like, a whole wheat donut? All right, I'll try it. And I was like, this is insane. I remember going, oh my God, if you put icing on top of whole wheat, it's a donut.
It's amazing. And all the Big Macs you can afford.
Oh, yeah. I just be shipping them back to the people.
That's hilarious. Oh, that's amazing. Now, is there any thing that you eat currently or make that is reminiscent of home, or is that not really?
Yes. So my mom made these cookies that were, I don't know what they're Canadian or not, but she'd make these shortbread cookies, and I make them every Christmas. And they're just stupid. It's just butter. It's butter, a little bit of flour, sugar, and more butter. It's just stupid.
Oh, that's the best.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my God!
There. But they send us. My friends send me care packages every so often, and of like really fun not fast food, like junk food, like potato chips and stuff like that. And there's a potato chip called Anales. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
And they make it an all-dress chip. I don't know if you know. Have you ever heard of that? So it's like it's every flavor put on. So
that's amazing.
And it's just like, oh, this is super. So you can taste the ketchup. You can taste, like all these different flavors come flying at you, and it's like, oh, this is really good. And they're on a ruffle chip.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
It's different from just a flat chip to a ruffle chip. Like it's something about a ruffle chip.
No, it's true.
It gives it a little bit of class. Like
it's first class chip.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. You go from white trash to living a good life within seconds just because it's got a little bit of a wrinkle to it.
That's amazing. Well, you have to come onto the regular podcast and meet me at the studio, and so we can really go through this. There's way too much, but I had to get you into this episode. Is there any tour dates or anything that you want the people to know about?
Yeah, so I have. You can go to ianbagg.com, but I'm doing a new podcast where we've gone separate ways, Tom. You're talking about bread, and I'm on a show called Sword and Scale Rewind. Sword and Scale is a true crime murder podcast, and I do a rewind, going over murder and making fun of it.
Oh, so, hilarious! That's so funny. All right, Ian, you're the best.
No, you're the best.
when I get back to LA, I'll get you in the studio and we'll hang more.
I love it. Let's make it bad, bro. Be good.
All righty, and talk to you soon.
Love you, Tom Papa.
All right, that's our big show. Thank you to our Canadian friend Sara Singer-Schiff, and thank you to Ian Bagg. This is a Canada-heavy show. Heavy. I also like to thank the good people at Wild Alaskan Farms and Greensmith Farms. Two good sponsors. Look for the information in the bio. And also, make sure you like and subscribe. Tell all your friends. Keep spreading the word about our beautiful podcast. We thank you guys so much. Also, take a look at tompapa.com. All my tour dates. I'm heading out all over the country. Next one is in New Jersey. We just added a late show in New Jersey on August 27th. And then we're off and running around the rest of the world if you keep getting your vaccines. And also go to my YouTube channel, because also there we have a new video that we just posted. We have my Getting Baked series, where I actually show you how to make this gorgeous bread. And we just did scones. That's available now. So go to the YouTube channel and check that out as well. You guys are the best. See you next time.